Disclaimer: this content is only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. It all started on a quiet Friday night, the kind where the air feels a little softer, and the world seems to slow down just enough to notice the way your partner breathes beside you. We had just finished dinner, something simple, with laughter echoing in the kitchen like we were still dating. That night, my husband, my steady, sometimes unpredictable, always passionate partner, leaned in with that familiar spark in his eyes. He whispered something that made my heart race and my mind freeze. It wasn't the words exactly, it was the way he said them. Bold. Confident. Almost like he'd rehearsed this moment. I stared at him, a fork still in my hand, unsure if I'd misheard. "Wait, you want what?" I asked, half laughing, half nervous. But he didn't laugh back. He meant it. This wasn't one of his usual jokes or flirty comments that I could brush off with a blush and a playful eye roll. This was serious. This was different. And that difference stirred something inside me I hadn't felt in a long time. We've been married for nearly 8 years. Our love has grown through calm mornings and heated arguments, through shared dreams and forgotten anniversaries. Like most couples, we'd gotten comfortable. Safe. But safe can start to feel like distance. So when he made that wild request, I wasn't just surprised, I was curious. Curious about him. Curious about myself. Curious about what would happen if I didn't say no. As I looked at him, really looked, I saw the man I fell in love with. The one who once drove across 2 states just to hold my hand after a rough day. The one who dances like a fool in the living room just to make me smile. But tonight, there was a new layer to him. A boldness. A vulnerability. A challenge. And deep down, I knew I couldn't ignore it. This isn't just a story about intimacy. It's about trust, love, growth, and what happens when you decide to open a new door in a familiar room. When your partner surprises you in a way that makes you rethink everything you thought you knew. And maybe, just maybe, rediscover a part of yourself you'd tucked away. Now here's where I need you, yes, you. Have you ever been in a moment like that? When someone you love asks something unexpected, and you're torn between fear and fascination? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, let's talk about it. Would you have said yes? Or walked away? And if you're watching with someone, maybe ask them, what's the one thing you've never asked me but always wanted to? Because what happened next? Well, I wasn't ready. And neither will you be. I couldn't stop thinking about his words. Even hours later, after we'd cleaned up dinner and changed into our comfy clothes, they kept echoing in my mind. My husband wasn't usually the type to ask for something like that, not in such a direct way. He was warm, attentive, sometimes goofy, and always respectful. But tonight, there was a shift. He seemed more raw, more open. Like he had been holding this inside for a while, waiting for the right moment to bring it up. And I was left wondering why now. What had changed? We sat on the couch, and I kept sneaking glances at him. He wasn't pushing. He didn't repeat his request or try to persuade me. He just sat there calmly, sipping his tea, watching the movie we'd both already seen a dozen times. But his silence said more than his words had. It was like he'd dropped this emotional spark between us and was letting me decide whether or not to light the fire. I thought about everything we'd been through. Our first year of marriage was full of adventure, road trips, spontaneous weekend getaways, late-night conversations about everything and nothing. But somewhere along the way, life got busy. Work, bills, responsibilities. We didn't lose the love, but the thrill that kind of faded. Maybe this was his way of trying to bring it back. Maybe this wild idea was about more than just a physical request. Maybe it was about connection. Reconnect ion. But still, I had questions. Why now? Why this? Was he bored? Or was this something he had been too shy to share before? Was I ready for this kind of honesty? I didn't want to feel like I was disappointing him, but I also didn't want to pretend I wasn't surprised. He looked over at me once, and his eyes met mine. It was just a second, but there was so much behind that glance: hope, fear, love. That kind of look only comes from someone who truly trusts you with their heart. And it made me realize just how much weight this request carried. But I hadn't answered yet. And the question still hung between us. The silence between us wasn't awkward, it was loaded. Like a room full of memories and unsaid words. I was still sitting there, feeling the weight of what he'd asked, while he acted like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. That one request pulled up questions I didn't know I'd buried. About trust. About desires. About how well we really knew each other after all these years. I started replaying old moments in my head. Like the time we got caught in the rain on our anniversary trip and ended up laughing like teenagers under a coffee shop awning. Or when I'd gotten that big job offer and he stayed up all night helping me decide, even though it meant moving to a new city. We've always been a team. Always honest. But this felt like a new chapter, one we hadn't written yet. And I wasn't sure if I was ready to turn the page. Part of me felt nervous, afraid of opening a door we couldn't close. But there was also a strange excitement I couldn't deny. It wasn't just what he wanted, it was the fact that he trusted me enough to say it out loud. That kind of vulnerability doesn't come easy. And I couldn't shake the feeling that if I said no without understanding the why, I might be closing off something deeper. The next evening, I brought it up. My voice cracked a little as I asked, "Where did that come from?" He looked surprised, maybe even a little relieved that I didn't pretend it didn't happen. "I've been thinking about it for a while," he said. "It's not just what it sounds like. It's about us. About feeling alive again." That hit me harder than I expected. I'd felt that too lately. Like we were on autopilot. We still cared. Still laughed. Still had moments. But somewhere, we'd fallen into roles: husband, wife, co-workers, planners. And this request, as wild as it sounded, wasn't just about something physical. It was a signal. A plea to break routine. To reconnect on a level we hadn't touched in a while. But here's the thing, he wasn't the only one keeping secrets. I had thoughts I hadn't shared. Things I'd wondered about. Moments I brushed off because I didn't want to seem strange or ungrateful. Maybe we both were holding back, scared of what honesty might unlock. Now I'm asking you, what would you do in my place? Would you lean into the unknown? Or protect the comfort of what you already know? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't just answer for me, ask yourself. How well do you really know the person you share your life with? Because what happened next? It brought out parts of both of us we hadn't seen in years. After that conversation at the kitchen table, nothing was the same, but everything looked the same. We went about our routine like usual: work, errands, dinner, but beneath it all, there was a quiet storm building. Every time our eyes met, it felt like there was more being said without words. That request still hung in the air, not yet answered, but alive between us. Neither of us brought it up again, but it was always there, lingering like a spark waiting for oxygen. One night, about a week later, we were getting ready for bed. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I watched him from the mirror as he brushed his teeth, and for the first time in days, he looked uncertain. Like he was holding back. That same man who made the boldest request of our marriage was now acting like he'd asked too much. I wanted to say something, to break the silence. But what do you say when your heart is split between comfort and curiosity? I lay in bed that night with my back to him, staring at the dark ceiling. I wasn't just thinking about what he wanted. I was thinking about everything that had led us to this moment. About how easy it is to lose parts of yourself in a relationship without even noticing. About the small things we stop doing, the big talks we avoid. I wasn't just afraid of the request itself, I was afraid of what it represented. Change. Vulnerability. Risk. But isn't that what real love asks of us sometimes? The tension reached its peak the next evening. We were sitting outside on the back patio, a place we used to spend hours talking before life got too fast. He finally turned to me, and his voice was low. "You haven't said anything. I don't want to push you, but I need to know, are we okay?" That question cut deep. It wasn't just about the request anymore. It was about us. About whether we were still willing to fight for the spark we once had, or let it quietly fade into routine. And just when I opened my mouth to answer, something happened that neither of us expected. Just as I opened my mouth to answer, his phone buzzed. Normally, we wouldn't have noticed, it could have been an email or a news alert, but this time, he tensed up. He glanced at it quickly, then flipped it face down on the patio table. Too fast. And just like that, the air between us shifted again. I tried to brush it off. Maybe it was work. Maybe it was nothing. But something about his body language told a different story. His shoulders stiffened, his jaw tightened just enough for me to notice. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, but the timing was too perfect, or maybe too wrong. Here we were, on the edge of a conversation that could reshape our relationship, and suddenly he's hiding something. He looked at me and must have seen the change in my eyes because he sighed and rubbed his forehead. "It's not what you think," he said before I even said a word. And that made it worse. Because I hadn't said anything yet. I swallowed hard, trying to keep my voice even. "Then what is it?" I asked. "You asked me to open up. To be honest. So, be honest with me." He was quiet for a long moment. Then he finally spoke. "There's something I didn't tell you. Something that's kind of connected to what I asked you for last week." My heart skipped. "Go on." He looked out into the night, avoiding my eyes. "I've been talking to someone. A therapist. Online. It's not what you think, it's not like that. I've been feeling off lately. Like something's missing. And I didn't want to dump it all on you until I understood what it was. I didn't know whether to feel relief or worry. So he wasn't hiding a person, he was hiding a feeling. A search for help. For understanding. And yet, he hadn't told me. Not when we talk about everything. Or at least, I thought we did. "And this request?" I asked slowly. "Was it something your therapist suggested?" He nodded. "Kind of. Not directly. But they helped me realize I've been craving more honesty in our connection. Not just words, but real openness. The kind that risks judgment." I felt torn. On one hand, I admired him for seeking help, for trying to fix something before it broke. But on the other hand, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was still in the dark. Like there was one more layer he hadn't peeled back yet. So I asked him, "Is there more you haven't told me?" He looked me dead in the eye. "Yes. Now I need to know, what do you think is hiding? If you were in my place, would you want the whole truth, no matter how hard it might be to hear? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's see who gets it right before the next part." I froze when he said it, yes. One word, but it shook me to the core. We sat in silence, the weight of it stretching out between us like a thin thread that could snap at any second. I was scared to ask what came next. Scared of what the truth might mean. But I had to know. "Then tell me," I said softly. "Tell me everything." He finally turned to me, eyes filled with something between fear and relief. "There's something I've been holding back. Something I didn't think you'd understand. That wild request I made, it wasn't just about us in bed. It was about what I've been feeling for a long time. The routine. The silence. The distance. And," he hesitated, "someone reached out to me recently. Someone from my past." My breath caught. My mind raced. What do you mean, from your past? He looked down at his hands. An old friend. Someone I had feelings for before I met you. She messaged me out of nowhere. Said she saw one of my posts and just wanted to check in. I didn't respond at first, but then I did. And we talked. Just for a few days. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. Did anything happen? He looked me in the eye. No. Nothing physical. But I realized I was opening up to her in ways I hadn't with you in a while. That scared me. That's when I reached out to the therapist. That's when I made that request to wake us up before we lost something we didn't even know we were missing. The wind picked up around us, rustling the trees. My chest tightened, not from anger, but from the painful truth of what he said. We had drifted. We'd stopped checking in, stopped taking risks, stopped asking each other the real questions. And yet, there was something else. A part of me that knew I had also been hiding. So I said it out loud. I got a message, too. A few weeks ago. From someone I used to care about. I didn't respond. But I thought about it. More than I should have. His eyes widened. We both sat there in stunned silence, like two people suddenly seeing each other clearly for the first time. So here's the twist. Sometimes the wildest request isn't about what you do, it's about what you admit. Now it's your turn. Have you ever had a moment like this in your relationship? Would you tell your partner everything, even the part you're afraid to say? Let's talk in the comments. We sat there under the soft string lights, the night air cool and still, as if the world had paused just for us. After everything we had confessed, there was no anger. No shouting. Just the deep, quiet sound of two hearts that had been hiding too long finally finding the courage to speak. He reached for my hand first, slow, unsure, like he was afraid I'd pull away. But I didn't. I held his hand, feeling the warmth in his palm and the trembling in his fingers. Thank you, he whispered, for not walking away. I nodded. Thank you, for trusting me with the truth. We didn't need to go back to the request right away. We had something more important now, understanding. What started as a wild, unexpected desire turned into a moment of clarity for both of us. We hadn't just drifted, we had stopped seeing each other. Life had distracted us. Comfort had numbed us. But honesty, that woke us up. Over the next few days, we talked more than we had in months. Not just about our relationship, but about everything, our fears, our routines, our hopes, even the parts of us we thought the other wouldn't understand. We laughed more, touched more, even sat in silence without feeling the need to fill it. As for his request, we didn't rush it. We explored it together, slowly, with curiosity instead of pressure. What mattered most wasn't what he asked for, it was that he felt safe enough to ask. And now, I felt safe enough to listen, to share, and to grow. Love doesn't stay alive by accident. It needs air, space, and sometimes even disruption. That night, under the stars, we had one of the most uncomfortable conversations of our lives, and it saved us. So, if you're in a relationship and something feels off, don't wait. Ask. Speak. Even if your voice shakes. Because the strongest love isn't built on perfection, it's built on truth. Tell me in the comments, what did you feel watching this story? Do you think they made the right choice? And should we do a sequel to see where their journey goes next? Tap like if you felt something real, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what happens next.